YouTube Ozic going the Goat House is back, grading some of the recent big-time NFL extensions. We'll also go over some of the other ones from the month of July here, and we'll be adding any upcoming extensions to the spreadsheet, which you guys can keep handy. I'll put the link down below. If you follow us on Twitter, you already have the spreadsheet. You already seen the grades. I'm just here to explain myself on some of these grades here. But yeah, I'll put a link down below so you guys can keep that handy. More extensions will happen, but there's a lot going on right now. Cannot wait for our in-season content. Make sure you join us, like, subscribe to the notifications down. We're going over player rankings right now, so playlist full of those. Follow us on Twitter. You're missing out if you're not following that. Live news, rumors, updates, a lot going on in the NFL right now. Preseason right around the corner. You can follow us on any social media account, pretty much. There's a link pinned in the comments for all those. And our sponsors, Liquid IV, GLD Shop, code GOAT. And you'll see enough of the Liquid IV ads on this spreadsheet. But they got new flavors, new sugar-free. I love that stuff. Absolutely love it. So check it out. Give it a try. But yeah, again, you guys will get the spreadsheet. I will add to it. There'll be a link down below. If you follow us on Twitter, you already know about it. But Saquon Barkley is the first one. He is actually not an extension with the Giants. It's kind of replacing the franchise tag. The franchise tag was a one-year deal. That's gone. New one-year deal in place. It just happens to be the same value, same base value of the franchise tag. But a lot of people are talking about this. It's kind of like a big topic here. It has been. So I put it on here. And I graded it. It's not a grade for the player. It's a grade for the team. And the Giants got an A+ for this. I mean, he's on the franchise tag at $10.091 million, and they try to reach a long-term extension. Both sides, they couldn't get a deal done by the deadline, so you're still allowed to get a one-year deal in place of the franchise tag, even if it's past that deadline. So that's what happened here. It's pretty rare. I think Edgerrin James was the last time that happened with the Colts. Was like 2005. So pretty rare. I was like surprised to see that. I almost had like, oh yeah, you could do that like moment. But yeah, this is great for the Giants. I don't think it was in their best interest to sign him long-term and Saquon Barkley is a phenomenal young running back that seems like he could continue to get better, but I don't think it was the smartest move to extend him long-term, while he was on that franchise tag for the money he was looking for, which was probably over $12 million. It's just unfortunately how it is for running backs. It's a big gamble to do that. He's had his injury concern, and he was a big piece and a talented piece for the Giants last year. Really good last year. I mean, in terms of skill, just straight skill, looking at running backs, he's maybe one of the very best. But kind of looking at the end of last year, they were kind of giving the ball less and less. Like, it was rare for him to get like 18 carries and above. It was kind of rare for him to get 15. Beginning half of the year was like 30 carries. I mean, X amount of receptions. So they were doing that less and less. They got in the playoffs, won a playoff game. So it's like, yeah, Barkley's a huge piece to them, but can they find ways to win games moving forward under Brian Daboll with a different running back? Possibly. It's really, is it going to make or break that offense? Again, Barkley's a different talent, but so I know a lot of the fans wanted him there long-term. I understand that, but I don't think it would have been smart to give him a 4-year deal, $12.5 million per year. But then the franchise tag is on him. Obviously, he's got the franchise tag, and he's not able to. They're not able to reach a long-term extension by the deadline, so he's kind of holding out. So the Giants give him the same base value. They give him signing bonus, $2 million signing bonus, $1 million incentives. That's really not much for him to be there. So this is great. He's on the 1-year deal, like prove it deal still. They can give him a long-term deal if he looks good, gets better, stays healthy. It's a win across the board for the Giants. Because he's still on the 1-year deal. I think that's ideal. Base value is still the same as the franchise tag. You throw him a $2 million bonus to show up, and he has incentives. And if you look at the incentives, they are, if he basically outperforms himself from last year, it's not too far off, but yards, touchdowns, receptions, like he's got to outperform himself from last year, which he had a really good year. So to get those incentives. So it's a really, really good deal for the New York Football Giants, so I gave him an A+. They also gave Andrew Thomas a long-term deal, one of the better tackles in football if you're basing things off last year, but we're expecting him to be kind of moving forward. It's a massive deal. 5-year, $117.5 million, $23.5 million per year. It was the second highest paid tackle in football. I gave it a B+. I was kind of back and forth between B+ and A-. I like Andrew Thomas a lot. Like, he could be a top 3 tackle this year. He looked like that last year. Before that, he was decent the year before, and he was really bad his rookie year, but it was his rookie year. But I guess if there was kind of a downside, not too much of a downside, I gave it a B+, but you based off one really good year, but it's promising. Like I said, I'm very optimistic he's going to continue to play like that with this new staff last year. But yeah, kind of just threw him that crazy, like elite, top tier, second highest paid, based off that. So what I'm getting to, maybe it's a little risky because it's a lot of money, but overall it's a really good tackle with a bright future. We got a glimpse of it last year, so I did like this for the Giants. It's like B+, A-. I'm kind of back and forth. There is a lot of risk with it. Justin Herbert, the highest paid player in football. Now, you just with quarterbacks, you have to do that. With these great quarterbacks, a whopping $52.5 million per year. And yeah, you do want to see Justin Herbert close games out. A lot of the times it is on the quarterback. Winning, wins and losses, kind of a quarterback stat. But for the Chargers, a lot of times I think they choke games, whether it's coaching or defense or, things like that. But I guess Herbert could win the bigger games like maybe Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow have, for an example. But he's due money. And I think he's worthy of that money. When Joe Burrow gets paid, he's going to get paid around the same thing, maybe more. It's just kind of how it's going to go. So it kind of just had to get done there, and the Chargers get it done, so I gave it an A. Trevon Diggs also got an A, 5-year, $97 million, $19.4 million. That's like tied fifth with Marshawn Lattimore. Young corner, big-time playmaker. Could continue to get better. Really good piece in that really good defense. Add Stephon Gilmore. He's so young and, getting better. I think that's a pretty good deal. Like you can expect a guy like that to maybe get overpaid, be the highest paid corner, second highest paid corner. Look at Denzel Ward got last offseason. I think I like Diggs a little bit better, and he actually got less. And you think he's a very young corner, 5 years, 5-year deal, $97 million. 19.4 might not be an insane amount per year by that time down the line. So I like this for the Cowboys. Tytus Howard's a little bit of a surprising one, 3-year, $56 million. Like, sure, he's a decent tackle. He's kind of underrated. He's got upside. He's impressive. When early on there, it wasn't, you weren't really sure. You thought maybe guard or tackle. What's the situation? Where's he going to be long term? Fits in at tackle. Gets paid top tier money. I think it's a little risky. I'd say just because has he played to that? No. It's a lot of money. Will he reach that? But it's a 3-year deal, so you're not really giving him a whole lot. It's not like the 5-year, the 4-year deal. It's a 3-year deal, which I guess takes some risk out of it because it's not long term. But you're paying him based off upside, and you're not really giving him a completely upside deal. It's still 3 years, but a lot of money invested in the tackle position. The good thing is they think they found the franchise quarterback there, and he's on a rookie deal. He didn't even play yet, C.J. Stroud, so you can go out and afford to spend money on those tackles, which will protect that quarterback. So that's the good thing. But, Howard's going to have to pan out here soon, which he is decent, but, live up to that money pretty soon here. But so that was a little bit surprising one, so I gave it a C+. Cole Kmet, I actually originally gave this one a B. I bumped it up to a B+, kind of back and forth between the two. There is some risk in this one because $12.5 million per year is a lot. It's just a lot in general, but for, Cole Kmet, he had a pretty good year last year, very productive across the board. Before, the year before, he was productive in terms of yardage. He was very disappointing in terms of, where's the touchdowns at, obviously. So that was kind of my first thought, like, okay, he was good last year. He's got a lot of upside. We thought he was a good prospect, so he's probably going to pan out and be worth the 12.5. Has he been worth the 12.5 million yet? Probably not. Pretty close based off last year, but it is 1 year. But he's young, got upside. But that was my original thinking, like risky because you're really banking on, not only more of last year happening, but and some. So, and it's kind of 1 year. So it is a little risky, but kind of going back to 2 years ago, he was productive that year as well, just because he had 0 touchdowns, which you don't want a 0 touchdown year. But I thought there was more of play calling, play designs in the red zone, quarterback play. So really thinking about that, really not his fault. So I got still a little bit of a risk because will he continue to play like last year, but grow as well? Because $12.5 million is a lot of money, but he's young. He's still getting better. So the positive here is get 3-4 years down the line here where he's in the back half of that contract extension at $12.5 million per year. There's a shot. It's not guaranteed. Obviously, there's a shot that that's a bargain deal. I mean, that's a pretty good deal. Like some of those tight ends probably give you paying more than that. So I bumped it up from a B to a B+. There is some risk in that one as well. Uchenna Nwosu, 3-year, $45 million. The original report said a bit more than that. That ended up being the max value deal, which there's a good amount of incentives to get him over $19 million, which is a lot. But I always like the incentives because it kind of, it's a lot, but he got the incentives, so that means he did something. He played up to that money, so I do like the incentives. But base value is actually 3-year, $45 million. I'm a fan of Uchenna Nwosu. I was kind of preaching that when the Seahawks signed him. I thought he's always been an underrated player. He's a unique type player as well at the edge position. Has some off-ball experience, so I mean he can drop in coverage, but really good rushing the passer. I think he's underrated in that category. And I think it's a good fit with the Seahawks, what they're trying to do going forward. We saw it last year. I know their defense a little underwhelming. It's not because of him, though. And they had some other young players around him that kind of feed maybe off him. I think it's one of those players that kind of creates for other people. And they had Draymond Jones at the 3-4 end spot kind of in front of him and inside a little bit. I think it's a guy that kind of is going to create for the rest of that defense as well. So I think it all meshes pretty well. $15 million per year. I mean, to me, it looks like a steal like that. People thought, the max value, people thought that was an overpay. I'd say, maybe even if that was base value, I don't know. It's a little more expensive than I would have guessed, but I don't know if that would really be an overpay. But it turns out it's 3-year, $45 million. And I do like the 3-year extension on that too, 4-year total. That makes sense to me on him. So I gave that one an A. I'm a big fan of Nwosu. Alex Highsmith, this was not super recent, but was this month. 4-year, $68 million, $17 million per year. I think it's a little risky. I think, and he was good right when he came in. He was like kind of a sleeper guy coming in and was better than a little better than expected. Obviously, maybe a lot better than expected. And he was always very solid. But the Steelers, like always, valued having 3 pass rushers in there. Another guy kind of rotate with Highsmith, and sometimes they use all 3. We saw a lot of that when they had Bud Dupree, and then those guys kind of feasting off each other, like T.J. Watt mainly. And then Highsmith, I think a lot of this money was due to the sack numbers last year. And, you can't really base everything off sack numbers, but he was a playmaker too, forcing fumbles. He's a very good player. So it is a little risky. I can see him being the player where he's going to be impactful, like for sure pretty good, but he's going to get those maybe a little inconsistent year to year with those sack numbers perhaps. I gave it a B-. Some risk in that one. I kind of wish we would have saw him play one more year, but, you do want to lock him up now. If he plays one more year, gets that amount of sacks again, he could be worth $20 million per year. So it could end up, it's one of those ones where it could end up being a steal. Quinnen Williams happened earlier this month, 4-year, $96 million, $24 million per year. Gets a little bit more than Jeffrey Simmons. Different type of D tackles if we want to compare. Definitely different. Quinnen Williams, we maybe expect more sacks out of him, but I do think overall who's the better player? Probably Jeffrey Simmons. Maybe Williams has a little more upside. But Quinnen Williams gets a little bit more money, but he's going to get those sack numbers again. It has a lot of upside. So I thought the value made sense, though. I mean, this is going to, I keep saying it over and over again, but I still think he has a lot of upside and could be the best D tackle in football one day, maybe soon. And that position is so powerful in today's NFL. Like, it means so much. And if you have a great one, you lock them up because they are game changers. Those interior guys that get pressures, they are complete game changers. The quickest trip to the quarterbacks from the interior. So I gave that one an A. It's a lot of money. I don't really see any risk in this one, though. I don't really see any risk. I think he's going to be worth that contract for sure. Evan Engram, 3-year, $41.25 million, $13.75 million per year. I was originally going to go B-. I went C+. He was good for the Jags last year. We know he's going to be good again. He's kind of a weapon for Doug Peterson's offense. It's you're paying him $41.25 million, 13.75 high end, $13 million per year based off 1 year. And I think Doug Peterson's scheme, again, he needs that athletic type guy like Engram, and you couldn't really pluck one from the sky, right now. So you needed him. They needed him. He was on the franchise tag, though. Was he going to play on the franchise tag? But I do think at the same time they need him right now. They couldn't really find another one. I do think you kind of can find a guy. It's one of those systems where you can find a guy that's not maybe quite as talented as Engram, but he can kind of play near that area. So it wasn't necessary to pay him like that. It's a pretty big contract. And I think he could play similar to last year. I think he could play a little bit better even. I don't know if there's much more of a ceiling, and it's flashy tight end play. So he's good. He fits. He was impressive last year, key piece. And it just seems like, it seems like a little bit richer than I thought, and was it 100% necessary? But again, C+, he is a good player overall. They kind of need him in there. They wouldn't be able to find a replacement, so I don't give it like a bad grade or anything like that. And Trey Hendrickson, that happened yesterday. So it's only a 1-year extension to add on the 2 years he had. There was also a raise in there. He got $5 million this year, so that bumps it up from $13 million, which is severely underpaid, to $18, and $18's about like it. And that's, if you had to pick who gets the better deal there, the Bengals or Hendrickson for 2023, $18 million, even with the $5 million raise, probably the Bengals still. So that third year, that added year, would be $21 million. We're focusing on the extensions here, so the extension part was that 1 year. And it is a little interesting because $21 million, not this year, not next year, the year after, and that's like, just over Bradley Chubb, I believe, around that range. Will Hendrickson be worth it then? You could argue maybe that's going to be a lot for them, but again, pass rushers, the market keeps going up. So good pass rushers, really good pass rushers like Hendrickson playing right now. Like if Hendrickson's playing like he is right now, then that $21 million year, he's going to be worth more than $21 million. So you kind of you could kind of argue both sides, but the way I look at it is I still think he's underpaid right now, like $18 million this year with this deal. I think that's a good deal for the Bengals. The signing bonus with this deal isn't super rich either. It's a big piece to the Bengals, for that defense, obviously. So I gave it an A-. So $21 million on year 3 maybe could be you can argue both sides. Like I said, it could be a little bit there, and they did give him a raise this year, but overall A-, big piece of the Bengals, and he was severely underpaid before, so they're kind of making up for him. Like $18 million now, maybe that's not even enough. We'll give you 21 in year 3, so it kind of makes sense a little bit for those reasons. Still waiting on some more extensions. I think a couple of Vikings guys stand out. I think TJ Hawkinson could be next. Justin Jefferson, maybe we're waiting on that. So there's other players as well, but then, in my mind, that's who pops out first, and it could happen at any time. So we'll add more to the spreadsheet. Wanted to explain some of those. Some of them still, like I already changed the Cole Kmet when I sit there and think about it more and more with these, and that's kind of when I did the free agency grades too, that they could change slightly. The Andrew Thomas one too is like borderline A-. That could be, it's just risky because I like Andrew Thomas a lot though, because he doesn't really have the best pieces around him on that offensive line. For him to play that good, and I'm very optimistic he continue to play that good in that system, but how many years has he played to $23.5 million is really just 1 year, and it was a pretty big difference, I thought, between last year and before that. You kind of saw it coming the year before, so there is a ton of risk in that, but there's going to have to be. It's going to have to be because you have to pay that tackle, that big-time tackle, when you have him that amount of money. And then having him there for like Evan Neal, can Evan Neal take? And I was really high on him. Could he take that step like that? So, and having Evan Neal on that rookie contract, I like that. It's really borderline. That's the one I'm still thinking about. B+, A- there. There's a lot of risk in it, but I'm ranking offensive my position ranking series. I'm ranking offensive tackles next. I have Andrew Thomas pretty high, so I like him a lot. But that will wrap it up. This ended up being a little longer than I thought. I can talk all day. That's why I couldn't just make this a post for you to read. I had to explain myself here for at least the first wave of these. But spreadsheet in the comments along with other useful things. And you're missing out if you're not on Twitter because you get these things a long time ago. You get more updates, my thoughts on everything pretty much, interacting with you guys. Twitter subs get bonus content. So you're going to want to subscribe to us here, turn on notifications, but do the same thing on Twitter. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.